Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, we are going to talk about how to stop feeling insecure, directionless, and on autopilot in your life, which then results in you being in a place where you say yes to everything and everybody. Only to feel resentful later. And we're going to talk about what this really requires, where it comes from, and how you can overcome some of this in general. So, it's very common for individuals when they go through, especially like a significant amount of trauma in childhood. And this can just be trauma from being emotionally neglected to a certain degree. This can be trauma from going through some kind of divorce in your household, having your parents split up, feeling sort of like you're always in competition with another sibling, bullying at school. Like it can be things that we may not look at and be like, oh, these were severe traumas, but things that create an insecure attachment style in our relationship to self and in our interactions and relationships to others. And whenever we have that in our early childhood or upbringing, it's really easy to get into a place where we start people pleasing. We start looking outside of us for answers, for solutions. We try to be who we think mom or dad want us to be, literally, sometimes for people all the way into their adult life, all the way up until like retirement, and or who we think the husband or wife wants us to be. And we tend to put a lot of external pressure on ourselves. And what this results in a lot of the time is because we're so busy filling our minds with what everybody expects outside of us. And we're so dependent on the approval, positive reinforcement, validation, love, and connection outside of us. It leaves us in the internal relationship to self feeling on autopilot, feeling insecure about who we are and in our lives, feeling directionless. And often the extension of those things means allowing yourself to be a yes person and then becoming regretful or resentful later. Because if you don't have an intention for your life, if you don't have a clear direction that is really anchored from the inside out, and it's about what you truly want, what's in alignment with you and like your truth, your needs, your values, your morals, all these different things, then what happens instead is we don't know what to say no to. It's like if I have an appointment at 6 o'clock, I know when somebody says to me, hey, can you come pick me up at 5:45? I'm like, no, I can't because I have a commitment at 6 p.m. So I know what to say no to. But when we don't have that for the overarching themes of our life, if we don't know how we want to spend our time for career, our time in our financial world, we don't have intentions in that area, we don't have habits and goals that are in alignment with our values, needs, and desires. When we don't have all of that, and I don't just mean career, financial, I'm just listing off some of the 7 areas of life. I also mean mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and all relationships. When we don't have intentionality, then we just end up saying yes to everything, right? It's like, okay, I guess I don't have a plan, so sure, I'll drive you or pick you up or do whatever. And then we are also relying as a byproduct of people pleasing a lot of the time on people outside of us to try to meet our needs. Like, oh, now this person's going to give me approval or love or connection or these things I feel like I'm missing in my life because I'm doing them a favor. And while it's nice to compromise and do favors for people and show up, and it's very important to have those qualities and capabilities for healthy and functional relationships, we can't be doing those things out of a place of trying to fill our own bucket from with people outside of us when we can't fill our own bucket or cup inside of us first. And we can't use people to fill that void, right? We can't be like, oh, if I get approval and do favors, that's not actually targeting the root problem of feeling insecure, directionless, and people pleasing only to feel resentful. And then when we don't get the adequate approval or we don't get those external people in our lives to meet our needs, what happens? Oh, then we get angry or frustrated. It's like, oh, I'm giving my day to you and I should have gotten the thank you in return the way I needed it to, the way I needed it to look. And the reason we do this is because we're looking for the person to give us the adequate fulfillment about the things that are really lacking inside of ourselves. And that's why we get so sensitive and frustrated if people don't thank us the way we want, or they're not appreciative the way we think we deserve. Usually that's a symptom of, well, you're not in appreciation in the relationship to yourself, and you're using people externally at a subconscious level, not in a manipulative, consciously premeditated way, but at a subconscious level to fill the voids within you. And when they can't do it to the degree that you're lacking and needing them to do that, then we feel frustrated more easily. So what I want you to understand is like none of this has to be this way, first and foremost. There are things you can do in your life to feel super clear, super confident, very on purpose. And we don't talk about these things enough. We hear all these like pieces of information saying, live your purpose, live in alignment, all these different things, but nobody tells us like the strategies for how. And there are actually specific steps and strategies that you can utilize to feel clear and full of direction and on purpose and off autopilot in your life. And this leaves you feeling much more confident in your sense of self. And it also allows you to have thriving relationships that feel like they are a two-way street. Like there's an exchange of giving and receiving love and support that goes both ways. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of this in this video. We're going to do a deep dive into like some really important components. If this is a big problem in your life where you feel directionless, if you feel just like disconnected from yourself, if you don't know what your needs are, feel resentful in a lot of your relationships, find yourself people pleasing a lot, I highly recommend doing a much deeper dive into our Strengthening Self-Identity course inside the Personal Development School. There's a link to the membership and courses page in the description box below, and you can use the With You coupon code for 25% off. But this will help you like get really, really just much faster results, because I can go through a little bit in depth in this video, but I'm going to go like really in depth in the course. And there's a lot of reprogramming tools and breakthrough tools that help you just get on purpose and feel clear and strengthened in your sense of self a lot more quickly. So we have to start by looking at like, what is our identity made up of? Like when we're feeling directionless or on autopilot, why? Like what is the part of us that's seeking that needs that direction or destination? And we also have to ask ourselves who we are right now. Did we choose this? Was this on purpose? Or are we currently, as our personality, largely made up of programming that maybe we didn't ask for? So for example, maybe a big part of your identity feels not good enough. Maybe a big part of your identity feels disempowered or powerless or helpless. Maybe a big part of your identity judges yourself and feels shame if you ever feel rejected. Maybe you have unhealthy coping mechanisms like binge watching television to escape your problems. Like maybe you have these things that are part of how you cope and are sort of part of your personality and how it functions, but they're not things you consciously chose. And the goal is to get your identity into a place where you've consciously chosen and consciously become aware of your needs, the traits in yourself that you really want to harvest and like really nurture, the things that are important to you, knowing what your desires and dreams are, and then being able to take action steps to support them on a regular basis, knowing what your morals and values are, and then having healthy strategies to live fully in alignment with these things. And then understanding what negative beliefs you have about yourself, and then doing reprogramming work so that you have beliefs that fuel what you want to create in the world and beliefs that support you in that. And all of these things are already part of our identity. We all have an identity with specific personality needs at the subconscious level, specific traits we have, specific desires and dreams, values and morals, beliefs. But a lot of us, when we start this healing work, we have these things, but they're not things that we would have consciously chosen. And you could argue, like, then your personality isn't completely yours in a way, because often a lot of our personality is a whole bunch of coping mechanisms from things that happen to us, right? So for example, we might have a trait where we're extremely stubborn, and maybe we had to learn to be stubborn in our childhood or upbringing because people always took things away from us, or people like never really heard us. And so we had to learn to really put our foot down. But maybe we realize that sometimes the overexpression of that trait pushes people away from us and leaves us feeling lonely or unfulfilled or disconnected. And maybe we realize, you know what, that's not a bad trait to have in small doses, but this is something that's like showing up and sabotaging my relationships or sabotaging my happiness in some form. And so what we want to be able to do is really like look at all these things that our personality is currently made up of and be able to decide how we want to show up instead, and then use reprogramming tools, that which we have ample reprogramming tools inside of the personal development school. We have a whole course on like 20 different reprogramming tools, and then be able to reprogram these things that are not serving us. Another example could be you feel like you're too shy. And while being shy in small doses can be a very endearing quality, can be sweet, isn't necessarily any kind of negative trait. It's when we get into the overexpression of it, when we're so shy that we won't even speak up and offer our opinion in the workplace meeting. Maybe in a job we're really passionate about, but we just feel like we can't speak up because we feel too insecure or afraid. Maybe we find, for example, that we have a need, and maybe that need is for connection, but the way we meet connection is through, watching reality television instead of through talking to people and really putting time and energy into building relationships. And so we might do that because that's a way we've been conditioned that, I guess, this works and this can meet the need, but these aren't things that we're choosing for ourselves consciously. And so, what we want to be able to do is recondition these disempowering patterns so that we can show up in a way that allows us to thrive in the different layers of the self. Okay. So, basically, what I want you to take a look at is start by auditing, what is my identity made up of right now? What are my needs? Do I even know them? What are my subconscious needs that drive me? These are called our personality needs. We have a whole course in this on this inside of the personal development school as well, that will help you identify them, question them, get clear about them, have strategies for meeting them, know how to express them to others in a healthy way so you can feel fulfilled in your relationships, all kinds of stuff. What are the traits that I have? And what are the traits that are like working on behalf of like what I want to choose? Like, what traits do I value and appreciate about myself? But then what are the traits that I know are blocking me in life, keeping me away from the things I really crave or really desire? Like, maybe you find that you have a lot of anger and you're hot-headed as a trait, and maybe you're like, you know what, that might have served me in childhood to try to protect myself, but now I'm getting to a point where this hot-headedness or this strong temper pushes people away I love, and I'm really wanting to have a lasting relationship, and this is sabotaging. And in that case, we want to consciously choose what we want instead and then condition it in. Then we want to be clear about our desires and dreams, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time to really understand, but we will learn to understand it better and get clearer when we know what our needs are. And then we have strategies to meet these needs, because our needs and our life purpose go profoundly hand in hand. And then when we can look at what are our values and morals, like maybe it's respect, honesty, integrity, like maybe these are the things I want to live by. And sometimes when we go through difficult life decisions, maybe we have to decide whether to make that big move to a different part of the world, to take that opportunity, or to be in that relationship. When we have these difficult decisions, our values and morals are like our North Star. They're like our inner compass. And when we know what they are, then it's much easier to make difficult decisions. When we don't know, we get really confused and conflicted, and we don't feel like we trust ourselves when it comes to making important decisions for ourselves in our life. And then another thing, what are your beliefs about yourself? What are the current ones that are working for you? Do you believe I'm resourceful? I can figure things out. I can overcome things. I can persevere. Or do you believe I'm not good enough? I'm disliked. I'll always be excluded. I'm not capable. And in that case, you've got to do some deep work on reconditioning that stuff. So a lot of like why we feel lost or directionless is just because we have programming that we're not clear about, A, B, that we haven't chosen for ourselves, and C, we don't even know what that programming is. And so we can't even figure out how to get from point A to point B because we don't even know where we're starting. We don't even know what point A is, let alone have defined what our point B or goal or intention is for ourselves. And then we don't have the availability to do the work in between. And so much of living a healthy, fulfilling, rewarding life where you feel like you're thriving is exactly doing that work, defining your point A, defining your point B, and then reverse engineering the steps and using subconscious reprogramming tools to really speed up the process and get you much, much closer to guaranteed results. So that is a huge topic. I know this is like, there's so much information to just discuss on this topic. Let me know if you want to see anything else, or let me know if you have questions in the comments below. Again, if this is something you really want to dive into, check out our course on strengthening self-identity. It goes through all of this. It goes through the reprogramming tools, helps you define your point B and work backwards, insulates you with steps, strategies. We have community in there working on this as well. And you have a money back guarantee if you go in and you're not like thrilled with everything that's in there, because there's a lot of amazing stuff going on in there, lots of tools, a huge support system. So you can check that out as well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.